Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness, New York by Night. The scene is set within the Opera House on Broadway. An opera house that has not seen much patronage since one of its fairly idolized singers who, for one reason or another, had to vacate the city or had to leave it in such a state. For the moment, the managers and all the other staffers have tried to keep this place as afloat as possible, but mostly has to request the aid of certain patrons of the arts, one of which of Frank Green is known for, if only simply because he doesn't want to see such an opera house go like that. At the moment, the scene is rather vacant. There is the box before them, there is the stage before him, and from on high they can look down at the proper seating arrangements just below the stage. They can see that it's only half full, if that. The orchestra in the orchestra spit are almost outnumbering the amount of attendees there. They seem to be stringing their instruments, working on their different voices and trumpet playing, whatever have you, just to get a little bit of revelry, just to go ahead and exercise their voices, their fingers, their hands, and whatever have you in order to begin the opera properly. Now, on stage, the stage is empty for the moment. The backdrops have yet to be filled in, and the curtain is mostly drawn. We find ourselves within the box, as I said, of one of these particular opera houses where we see one Frank Green, one Lady Sheridan just preparing themselves and talking nonchalantly about the Elysium they had briefly attended and had to leave quite suddenly in order to catch the show.
I think it was quite amusing, but that Nosferatu did have a habit of putting his foot in his mouth, did he not?
Yes, he did. He certainly had the habit of putting his foot into his mouth, talking about many things that he really shouldn't. If I wasn't as polite and upstanding a gentleman as I think myself to be, he would have come to harm very, very quickly.
Yes, I can only hope he makes it home safely this evening. After the show, of
Oh,
course.
oh yes, yes, yes. Might as well give the man a running head start. So,
It
Lady
might upset
Sheridan.
the prince if
Oh,
he were to go missing, but that's only if he knows about it. Then again, our dear prince does know everything.
yes, he does, and he might be more lenient if it weren't a member of his own clan, I'm sure.
True. But, oh well.
Let's see. His name was Dallas. Apparently, some kind of occult authority within this city. Within this city, I don't think that's a proper course of study. Not with the external powers walking around at the moment. Seems rather more dangerous.
Yes. Well, we seem to have gained a multitude of theories as to why an individual might be shaved, and yet no closer to figuring out the truth.
This is true. This is true. The only hard evidence that we will find, we'll have to gather ourselves at the park across from the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yes, good luck with that.
Oh, you're not coming with me.
I wasn't planning to.
Okay, fair enough, my dear lady. I would almost think that you don't even enjoy my company.
Now, who would think that? However, when it comes to researching this matter, I do have my own leads to chase down.
That's true, that's true. I was actually very, very surprised tonight. I did not expect such a properly run establishment from Mr. Peck. I knew that he was impeccable. I knew that he was perfectionist, but I didn't realize how smooth the entire operation would go. I'm actually quite relieved.
Yes, it was most impressive, though can't help but wonder about his feeling that he needed a waiting room before we could enter the main hall.
Standard
Seems rather
security
unnecessary.
practice.
Yes, but it seems rather unnecessary with such a small group. Having such a room, certainly, but having his guests sit there and wait until they could be permitted to move through to the main room.
It's all a matter of security. It doesn't mean anything by it. No etiquette was breached. In fact, I remember some of Mr. Softly's Elysium when he was still keeper, having the entire Elysium quarters be an entirely separate building, actually. He would gather them all into one building and simply say, "We're not having the Elysium here, please follow me."
Yes, it just seemed unnecessary with such a small number. But I don't know this city that well, so I shall see, I suppose. With Elysiums due to occur every week, we shall see how things progress. With larger turnouts, it might make rather more sense.
It's one of the things I'm most concerned with, actually. The previous Elysium didn't fall due to any sheer number. It's just the fact that one of our number was a little bit too loose-lipped and told somebody who hadn't presented himself to the prince, hadn't presented himself to his primogen, just a nobody.
An easy to make mistake to make, and yet quite a serious one.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Discretion.
seen what can happen at an Elysium. It is not pleasant.
Mm-hmm. Remembering way, way, way back that Red Elysium we used to call it actually. There was myself. There was what was that gang girl's name? I don't know. I don't remember. Roy Blackwell. There's a Turris Rock. There was some other adventure there that escapes my particular memory at the moment, but we tried to hold our own as much as possible. They did bring 3 vans full of crazed individuals to attack us. Just as many numbers as possible.
Quite concerning.
Yes, the cleanup operations after that. Uh, I actually remember Mr. Thursday and most of the venture trying to cover that up and spending a great deal of effort. I remember dump trucks being brought over. I might want to try
Yeah.
that trick again.
It can be quite straining clearing up after an event like that.
Yeah, It certainly was, and one of my own foolish clanmates decided to get himself arrested that night. Oh, he would have met the noonday sun if I hadn't called ahead.
Hmm. There are ever so many people that seem to be tempting us to leave them to their own demises.
Exactly. What kind of benefit do we get? Minimal, at best. Sometimes they even go ahead and throw their lives away for another stupid mistake.
Yes, well, sometimes we must do things that inconvenience us for a much longer time than simply in the immediate. As unpleasant as it might be to have these individuals around.
Yes, 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 yes. You gotta take everybody at their own. Uh, well, there was a man who said a thing once before that the man who has the most friends has the most annoying friends.
Often true. But we must make the most of those friends that are worth the time and the title. And here she'll smile
True
to
enough,
Frank Green.
true enough. How's your own personal business coming along, lady?
It is progressing slowly but steadily.
I'm glad to hear it. I seem to find some of my interests these nights entangled, or at least not going as smooth as they ought to be. I had a model cancel on me a few days ago, and she didn't even have the decency to just say I quit. She simply called in sick and then proceeded to fly off to wherever the hell models fly off to nowadays. Vienna? Yeah, let's just say that she went to Vienna. I'm never going to see her again.
Well, it can be troubling. I take it you followed your sire into that line of work then, or your primogen, I should say.
Um, there was a long span of time where my primogen Leonardo had left the city, and hell, he didn't even leave the city to me. He left the city to Roy Blackwell, who proceeded to get himself arrested. I was the one who bailed his happy ass out, and not but 3 weeks after that, he got himself killed on North Brother Island, leaving me to be the claw of the clan. And again, I was always the one at the fashion studio, making sure that it ran as smoothly as possible.
Well, we do what we can, and see what happens afterwards. You cannot save your clanmates from themselves.
No, no matter how much of your self you give, it's always up to the individual clanmate to make his own sort of destiny. Eh. Well,
Is your primogen at least pleased with you for the efforts you have made in keeping his legacy going?
of course, he's quite pleased. He's quite pleased that I was able to keep the clan together for as long as I did, even though I was not the person he left in charge.
It is good to be appreciated.
It is, it is. In this coming council meeting, I will probably be the one attending, though I honestly am not looking forward to it.
Hmm. Well, we shall see what it is she wishes to discuss. It's always a little unnerving when the Bruja summon the rest of us, even if she is only Bruja by adoption.
This is true. She is a Bruja by adoption, and I don't know. I would prefer this call to council come from somebody else, somebody who's actually passionate about the sect itself, and not simply performing such an action due to obligation over a dead foster sire.
Well, I suppose we still have to protect ourselves. We still have to ensure that the borders are maintained. Whoever it is that is responsible for the call, it is good that we do have a council meeting intended. It would be good if we could manage it on a relatively regular basis rather than simply when crisis looms.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm not. I'm actually happy for the fact that we are having talks about proper council meeting. Is just I wish that Rose would simply be honest with herself. She's not interested in politics. She's interested in her own safety, yes, but we're all interested in our own safety. And again, I very much wish this call to council come from anybody else.
I quite know what you mean when you're referring to individuals who are not honest with themselves about their political aptitudes or inclinations. In this case, I refer more to my clanmate.
Oh, your clanmate, Lady Arabeth, I take it?
Yes.
I heard you did rise to the title of Primogen Hood, but what was it, this duplicitous nature you see of your clanmate?
Well, she seems to. She was adamant that she would make a suitable primogen, but then she offered to sell her vote, to sell the position for a boon. And if she had simply been honest with herself and accepted it to be a transaction, I could at least have respected her for it. But she had nothing to say for herself as to why she would make a good primogen. No attempt at convincing me to lend her my support. Just a demand that I should either give her my support or purchase hers.
And I assume that she didn't make the offer to owe you a boon should she become the Primogen.
No. In the end, I simply wished her to leave. But the matter is settled. That is the important thing.
I'm glad for that. I'm glad.
And I'm sure I'll resolve whatever it is that she chooses to come up with at some point. But I shall deal with that bridge when I come to it.
I assume your interested in the city haven't been blocked or had to have some kind of complication. except for this one that you presented to me. And again, thank you very much for bringing it to my attention.
Not as yet. I have been progressing quite nicely.
For myself, apparently some ecological efforts that I have outside of Manhattan have hit some sort of snag. The animal population in a certain park isn't as big as it ought to be.
I see. Quite unusual. I'm afraid I don't know a great deal about animals, but have you checked to see if anything else might have moved in that might have disturbed them?
I do plan on at least exercising my own influence into the matter, seeing who or what may have changed within the last few weeks. I also plan to send out a few of my retainers simply to check up on the area, walk the bay, as it were.
Yes. Well, I wish you every luck in trying to get to the bottom of that. It seems quite a perplexing conundrum.
Oh, I'll find out at one point or another that Megalodyne, Electric Pharmaceutical, or some other big name corporation has decided to break several ecological laws and proceed to dump something in my park. Now, wouldn't that be a shame?
It would. And if something untoward were to happen to them, that would also be a shame, of course.
Yeah, but this is all
Hypothetical.
just talk at the moment. Just theories. Just figuring out, what may have happened. In any case, Silas seems to talk a great deal about the external powers to our own within the city and outside of Manhattan proper. And seeing as the opera is just about to start up, and it seems to have a particular subject matter, what would you do if you had the opportunity to sell your soul to the devil, let's say?
I believe it might depend on what value he placed on it.
Soul?
Yes?
Well, what value do you place in your soul?
Quite high.
Then I imagine what you would possibly even consider exchanging for it would also be quite wondrous. Treasure.
Yes. In fact, I shudder to think at the price I might consider.
Boss down there goes ahead and sells his soul to the devil for ultimate knowledge of everything and anything.
Because, of
It
course,
is.
that would make life ever so enjoyable, knowing everything.
Well, it would certainly make things a lot easier to anticipate danger, I guess.
Yes, and yet still, he ends up dead.
Um, well, in a way, what he actually offers the devil happens to be his soul in exchange for a second life and the opportunity to experience anything he wants and know anything he wants. In fact, he takes the elixir of youth and he proceeds to walk on to Constantinople to actually talk with the some sort of highly religious figure there to make fun of him at least.
I see. And how enjoyable does his life proceed to be? If you know everything,
Well,
There is nothing left to learn.
This is true. He seems to fetter away his time much as he did before, simply burying his head in not necessarily books this time, but other people's business. And in fact, people that he comes across usually end up a lot worse to wear afterwards. He has a lot of information, and he knows what may or may not in fact happen, but he doesn't use it very well to improve anybody else's life. In fact, he gets a woman pregnant and proceeds to leave the mother and child, who both become pariahs, outcasts.
Then it seems what he needed was wisdom rather than knowledge.
You may want to repeat that, unfortunately.
Then it seems what he needed was wisdom rather than knowledge.
Exactly. Hmm. You know, at the very, very end, he is given the opportunity. He is given the choice. In fact, in every single act, it starts with a plead from heaven, from the chorus, actually. It's a plea to us simply to say, repent, come back to us, it's all fine. If you just simply renounce Mephistopheles and come back to us, we'll take your soul back. Your soul will be perfectly fine. But every single act, he goes ahead and rejects it, all the way up until the last one. And the story really ends differently with different versions. At one point, in one version actually, he goes ahead and accepts their repentance, goes off into salvation, and proceeds to try to correct some of the mistakes that he made. And in others, he goes ahead and continues to deny uh, the chorus, the heavens, salvation, simply is dragged down to hell.
So what price would you put on your soul?
Let's see, what price would I put on my soul? Well, I hope I would be as. Here's the thing. Everybody has the ideal of what they would sell their soul for, but the reality of it is not always the same. You think that you have these such high virtues, but when they get tested, sometimes you break. I can tell you right now that what I say tonight about what I would sell my soul for may differ when the opportunity is actually presented.
Of course. We can never truly know until such a thing happens.
Mm-hmm. For me, if I were to sell my soul tonight, I would wish that my clan line at least would extend itself far, far from beyond me, and that the gang would actually be a proper clan within the Camarilla within New York.
I see. That is it.
Well, like I said, I want to see my line extended before me.
Yes.
Preferably with me at the head.
Yes, well, it seems as if you might be better served by seeking to bring it about yourself than taking the easy route. Especially as we all know that such wishes are often not how we would imagine.
It's true, it's true. Then again, we're all talking about fantasy at the moment.
Of course.
You, and he goes ahead and points a finger in your general direction, think your soul is too worth to actually consider something to sell it for.
Perhaps I am too young to have met the things that might be worth giving that much of myself for.
Fair enough.
I don't say there is no such thing, just that I struggle to think of what it might be. Especially with how big a drawback most of these wishes tend to bring with them. If your clown was to extend itself before you as a part of the Camarilla, but the Camarilla were to shift beyond all recognition to something worse than the Sabbat, then would it really be what you intended?
Probably not. In fact, I think a few of my clansmen up north would go ahead and beat me over the head, telling me I was a fucking idiot for even trying.
I see nothing wrong with your aim, just that the beings that answer such wishes and ask for such prices tend not to keep with the meaning of the wish, only the words.
It's true. But you gotta look at Mythopheles. Mythopheles is as straight and narrow as they come. He recognized a deal. He followed through with the contract. He doesn't even welsh on anything. Anything Boss wants, he gets. As far as knowledge go, he doesn't keep anything back. He doesn't even try to twist a deal at all, and he still gets himself completely and utterly in trouble.
True. I suppose perhaps I like to believe in myself and my ability to achieve these things eventually.
Well, we have kindred. I have definitely have the advantage of time.
Precisely. Some would argue that we have already sold our souls for immortality. Why not make the most of that bargain instead of striking a second one?
True. I'm sorry, my head seems to be in other places right now.
That is understandable. I was curious, though, when you spoke of your coterie mates earlier. What,
My coterie mates.
if you don't mind, what did happen?
We called ourselves the architects. We were created as a coterie of neonates having freshly come into the city. There was myself, Frank Green. There was Dr. Howard Softly, excuse me. And then there was Mr. Thursday, the one Tremere that I really liked within the city. You already know the fate of Dr. Softly, and apparently Mr. Thursday was called away, possibly to Vienna or the like. And I seem to still concern myself with Clan Tremere's own secrecy, because when I became the sheriff, he asked me very, very kindly in none too hushed words that, due to the nature of the external powers around us, that Clan Tremere should be hidden and buried.
Yes, I gather they are none too popular.
With the external powers, no. It seems as if the old warden sometimes hear stories about made quite a bad impression with a lot of the other external powers, particularly those in the Bronx, I think. I don't know. I stick to my own kind, mostly because I do not want to get myself entangled in external matters.
Yes, I fully intend to do much the same.
Unless it directly intersects with your interests, yeah. That being said, sometimes you can find reasonable sorts amongst the external powers, and sometimes a little bit of a talking point and dialogue isn't something to be shouted down.
No, of course not. Um, there are reasonable members in almost any group, I find. There are reasonable anarchs, but there are equally unreasonable ones.
It's true, it's true. Dr. Softly was might have been his particular bloodline bleeding through or what have you, but he seemed to have ties all the way back west to the Anarch Free State, if you want to believe that. So I can definitely imagine there are reasonable sorts within most groups, as you said.
And if that were not to include the other kinds of individuals that we might come across, then we would likely find that we would no longer need to worry about the masquerade because secrecy would be abandoned.
Masquerade, it is our shield. It protects us, not just from the kind, but from most of our enemies.
Yes, but what I mean is that were they not at least somewhat reasonable, were there not reasonable members among them, then they would likely not have adopted whatever version of it they seem to manage.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, actually, because this is something I've been pondering for quite a number of years myself. We all have our certain masquerade. For us, it is simply to continue walking and talking and not make mention of what we have to do to survive. For the people in the Central Park, I believe it's much the same. They walk and talk and pretend they aren't beasts or wolves. Now, let's try something. Let's try a thought experiment. What are the kind of people that can simply walk and talk and just be themselves? However, their nature is a little bit more supernaturally bent.
Well, as you say, ourselves, the wolves, others like that. Um, we all essentially stem from humanity in some way, at least to my knowledge of
This
it.
is true. What if there is a. What if that's the big trick? What if there is people who walk and talk, and yet what they do No, I've sort of lost the thought. What if they do something that's so similar to everyday happenstance that most people don't even consider them anything other than people? I'm sorry. You at
Many
least
people
understand where I'm
do.
trying to go with this?
No, I get what you mean, but I think that you could easily indicate doctors. They walk and they talk and they save people's lives.
And yet they're able to explain away their particular talent as
Well, it is knowledge. It is knowledge that is not shared by many, but it is knowledge that is applied. There are athletes that have abilities that not everyone has. They are stronger, they are faster. In this way, I suppose there are those that everyone would consider human that have abilities beyond what would be considered average.
fair enough. And the trick is they can walk and talk and display these particular abilities without much worry at all.
Because they do not frighten the populace. They are within the bell
Sure.
curve. The extremes, but within the bell curve.
Mm. This is true. They're within the bell curve. They don't deviate too much from the average. But who decides what the average is among everybody? Is it natural?
It's certainly worth considering, but regardless of whether it is natural or unnatural, what humans perceive to be normal, perceive to be usual, benefits us.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
So we encourage that perception, and they encourage that perception, and everyone else encourages that perception.
We're all working together to construct the narrative of what is normal, and we all try to, with our very, very best efforts, keep those that are outliners to that particular statistic way, way, way out of the eyesight of most of the population.
To a degree. There is still the Olympics for those athletes. I can't help but wonder if any of our associates from the park have considered entering.
It's very, very possible, though. If I saw a man beast running down the triathlon in Munich,
As
well,
we
then I'd
said,
have.
as we said, they can look human and act human.
Fair enough. I guess I would never notice.
Precisely. That is what makes me wonder.
Hmm. I've gotten way too philosophical tonight. I know that much. I'm gonna break my head. I get back home.
Well, Interesting conversation does tend to take it out of you. Especially when it drives towards the esoteric.
Yeah, yep. Well, it's a lot different conversation than that which I have to my staffers and my designers, or which fabric should be chosen over another, which material should be chosen over another, and sort of broadcast the styles that are going to be out next spring, summer, winter. It's all work to me.
Well, should you ever choose to escape from that and have a discussion that is more cerebral, then please don't hesitate to call.
Certainly not. Certainly not. They seem to be starting to gather themselves. Anything else you want to speak about before they start?
Not that I can think of. Not currently, at any rate.
Fair enough. Frequently we'll go ahead and start to lay back, and if Lady Sheridan's perspective at all, she'll notice that he gets rather still as he just sort of looks over the stage, and if he were to guess, if he were able to snore, he'd be snoring right now.
Are his eyes open?
He has sunglasses on.
Good point. She'll just leave him to it.
All right. And the
watch him play quite happily.
yeah, the performance will continue on with Frank Green trying to relax himself a little bit, and Lady Sheridan enjoying the show.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we can bring the scene to the close. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Thank you, players, for playing. You all have a good night.